It's time to kick up your life with Master Mel.
You could be the hero, you could get the gold. Breaking all the records they thought never could be broke.
Learn how to optimize your business and your life with Master Melodee Meyer. As she speaks with thought leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, and high achievers to discover their secrets of success. Master Mel uses her experience in martial arts, nutrition, fitness, and psychology to help you kick it up to the next level of mastery in your life. And now, here's your host, Master Mel.
All right, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for being here with me. My name is Melodee Meyer, also known as Master Mel, and today we are going to kick up your life. I have an amazing guest for you today. Her name is Diane Anthony, and she is the creator of Peace of Space Organizing Method, which helps people regain balance in their homes and living environments. Don't we all want a little bit more of that? She does this by evaluating their spaces and discovering the vision that will bring harmony and simplicity to their lives. She supports her clients in performing the hands-on work of lessening the excess and then assisting them in creating methods for flow and function. But that's just the starting point, because what Diane's method does so effectively comes from this place that she believes that our outer world reflects our inner world. So she really helps courageous individuals who are willing to regain balance and create harmonious environments, both on the outside as well as the inside. And you know, that's what this show is all about. Woo, woo. We're all about working on the inside so we can manifest new and exciting results on the outside. So welcome, Diane.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and so I'm glad that we could finally connect and make this happen, for sure.
Ditto.
So I'm excited because I want to let everybody know that they're going to walk away from this time together with some real practical tips on creating more harmony and peace in their environments. And I know, and I convinced you to actually share your method with us, you know, your proprietary method on how it is that you work with your clients. And because not everybody's going to be able to work with you. However, you know, of course, if they want to, they can reach you and we'll give people information on how they can do that. But what I want to go through today is your method, and so people can walk away with some real practical tips. Because we're going to be moving into the new year, right? And people are always thinking about fresh starts and so forth. And I think our home, our environment is a great place to start.
Yes, I totally agree. And it's a great point that sometimes we go with this idea of starting on the first of the year. And Mel, you brought this up the other day, which was awesome. This idea about how about we finish strong instead? Like instead of starting at the beginning of the year and saying, let's, now give it the big push. Let's final out this amazing year with something awesome and get our footing in the right position for the start of an amazing new year. So I love that idea.
Do you find that people sometimes use their clutter or their disorganization and things in their environment as an excuse to not move forward in their lives? Like it kind of helps them stay stuck in a way?
Yeah, I do. And there's something I want to preface this whole thing with, is that when I've met people and I tell them what I do for work, they go, oh my gosh, I need you. And I said, oh my God, I need me. Like we teach what we need to learn. And that's something that I want to just start out the gate. Like I do not live in I don't live in a hotel room where there's a potted plant and there is a laptop and a TV screen and the pillows and that's a real house with people and stuff.
And
to answer that question, it is true. And I know this from my own experience, and I know it from working with my clients, that our objects are a crutch at times. And it's this idea like, if only when I get this organized, if only when the garage, then I'll go forward. Then I'll be able to launch that career. Then I'll be able to get that relationship that I've been seeking. So it absolutely is true.
Cool. Well, we're going to get rid of those excuses today. How's that?
I love it.
We are going to actually move through it and do what I like to say, it good enough.
Good enough. Awesome.
That whole 80-20 thing. If we could just learn a few tips to get us to 80%, that's good enough to get on with our life, right?
Right. Love it.
Cool. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, first of all, Diane, as to how you got into this in the first place?
Yeah, so thanks. It was a really, maybe like some things that you don't realize you're good at, or that you have a certain skill set for, and so you overlook it. And in 2007, I started, was it 7 or 9? Oh, no, I've forgotten. It's been a long time. I think it was 9. I'm trying to arrange it based on my children's age. So I had a girlfriend who had 2 children, and she said to me, Diane, I walk by their bedroom, and I like physically get ill. I can't stand the room. There's so much in there. The kids don't like it. Can you please come, just friend to friend? And I said, sure. So I went. And the way the room was spatially organized with the bunk beds and the way the dressers were, and I walked in and I immediately got that same sense and didn't think that that was sort of a spatial understanding. But we reconfigured the room. We ended up going in the closets. The toys were all stacked out of reach. And so these children couldn't even play with it. I literally went through boxes of puzzles, and if it said 100 pieces on the box, I counted every piece, and if I came up with one less, that thing got recycled. And the transformation that happened in that room for her and her children was like off the hook. And she said to me, you should be a professional organizer. And I thought, is there such a thing? I had no idea. So I went and researched it, found this great guy whose name is Peter Walsh, who actually had a show with Oprah, or she would utilize his talents, and read a book about him. He's from Australia, irreverent, hilarious, loved his approach. It wasn't this, practical, or you're shamed into doing this, or if you have clutter and your house is disorganized, you're a bad person. And then I researched that there's an organization called NAPO, National Association of Professional Organizers. Who knew? 25 years in that was an industry. I thought, oh my gosh, their conference was up in Reno that year. And I said, I'm going. I got there, and there's hundreds of people wandering through these banquet halls and all these organizers from all over the country. I was absolutely dumbfounded. I had no idea this was a whole thing, right? I go and I sit in my seat. The keynote speaker gets up to talk, and it's Peter Walsh. And I was like, that is it. That's the sign. And from then on, I went back to Santa Barbara where I live, and I created my name. I marched down to City Hall. I put in my business license payment, and the rest is kind of taken off from there. I was just going to say history, being cliche, but it's true. It was something that really was inspired by sort of falling into something like that. And I think what really has been powerful for me is that you teach what you need to learn, right? Stuff for me is a constant issue. It is. I have these people in this life, and it's always happening. And if I could help be of service to somebody else, and when we are able to be a little bit a step back from it, we have a greater sense and ability to support people.
Right. No, I think that's really true, that sometimes we need that outside influence to help bring perspective to things,
right.
And so it's really nice, and to be support. It's an emotional thing. It's not just a physical space thing. It's an emotional thing. Yes.
Absolutely. I often say, in fact, at the beginning of almost every time I work with a client, after we've done our sort of intake interview, I look at them and I say, I want to just say how proud I am of you right now, because this is one of the most vulnerable places. People don't want to talk about their finances. They don't like to talk about their weight. But when you walk into someone's home and you open up their cupboards and their closets and you look around, there is oftentimes an enormous amount of shame around that. And my clients, anybody who seeks help from anybody, it's standing in a place of vulnerability and willingness, and to have somebody that comes with a tenderness and to help support their vision and kindness. It's unbelievable. I know that for myself. I've actually hired professional organizers within my community. We work we all get together annually and meet up and support one another. And realizing that for my own challenge, I would look at my things and say, but I know this. But it was like having that person next to me that was able to mirror back to me things that I really valued and was important to me, and support me in that has been tremendous.
Well, I want to get into your method, but I also, there's something else I know about you that I want to make sure everyone knows as well. And that is that you are certified with Jack Canfield, and you've done all of that work on learning how to work with people. How has that affected your business and your how it is that you are with these people in these vulnerable situations?
Yeah, thank you for that, because Jack Canfield is a mentor of mine, and his work, Doing the Success Principles, which if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it, or buy the audio CD. His idea that we co-create our reality, and some of his principles like taking 100% responsibility, or deciding what you want, or taking action. His method and his teachings are about affirmations, visualizations, co-creating, not being a victim to the circumstance. And his work has been so powerful for me to integrate that into the physical process of helping people eliminate, excuse me, the things in their life or in their home that they don't want or doesn't serve them anymore. But it goes into that thing about what's in alignment with us internally, and the stories that we tell ourselves, and how what comes out of that is what we can see around us. So his work, and he's now a friend, excuse me, and it's just a delight to be able to have that extra amount of information to support my clients on a greater level. So it's been fantastic.
On a greater level and a more intimate and deep level. That's awesome. Yeah. Because our stuff's just a representation of other things, and if you're working with someone who's clueless about that, then you miss that opportunity to actually learn, grow, and sort of evolve to that next level. So that's so awesome. Cool. Well, let's get to your method, okay, and what it is and how it is you're just so effective, and why people just love working with you. I mean, I haven't heard anything but amazing things about your work, and perhaps I have a few things you could do as well. I'm not sure. But that's another show.
You got my number.
But that's another show. Okay, so what is the first thing you do with a client, with someone that you're working with?
Oh, the first thing I do.
Who is the person that benefits most from what it is you're offering? Let's identify that person first.
Yeah, that's a really good question. To me, it's the person that, kind of going back to that place of vulnerability. It's somebody that's willing, it's somebody that is overwhelmed, somebody that is ready to take the step to living a life that encompasses passion, purpose, peace, like these things where our stuff, you hear words like, I'm buried under my things, I'm drowning in whatever. All these things of like suffocation. People are within their space, they can't breathe, right? Mm-hmm. And so the ideal client, or the client that would seek out my services or anyone's service, whether it's in just through books or YouTube videos, or just a friend who will come and sit with you and ask you what it is that you want. The client, the person that would benefit the most is the person that's really ready, like they've had enough, and they're ready to take the next step, and they're ready to ask for help, and they're ready to commit to their soul. I know that may sound kind of heady or woo-woo or whatever, but I really believe that. And I have interviewed with people where it wasn't a good fit, because what they thought was that I was going to come in, clean their house, and then it was all going to be fine.
That's awesome.
Like, I want to work with people that are like, they want the juice of life. Like they're ready. They're tired of it. That's it. They've hit that wall, and they're going, let's do this. That's the person that has that passion for having a life that they should have. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get kind of keyed
Okay,
up.
so that's your, I know, right? Well, a lot of people can identify with that, and then the ones who can't, then they don't need you. Then
Right.
hey, it's not a good fit. So good. So it's always good to know who your best client is, who are the ones that are going to get the greatest results. Because I'm a coach too, and I know your heart as well, Diane. You really want to work with people who are going to get results. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting your time because you're not doing it just because you get paid for this. This is how you make a living, but it's also you have a passion for results and for being part of that journey with people. And when they're not into it or they're not successful at it because they're not ready, then
Yeah.
it feels like a waste of time, right?
Right. You're absolutely right. And it is that. It's like I'm not the right fit for everybody, for sure. Because the people that are ready are the ones that can work with me. Because otherwise it's just a waste of their time, and then they should go find somebody that or do whatever works for them. But it definitely, my method is not for everybody, and this work is not for everybody, but it is for the people that are ready to take back their lives, really, and to move forward into what they really want to live and the way they really want to live. And that, I mean, when I leave my client's house every single time, I drive away and I think I'm so blessed. Like, that was awesome. And the response that people, I mean, just, yeah.
It inspires you.
Totally.
It fuels your passion.
Absolutely.
This isn't just a job. And that's why, because that's what people don't understand about coaches. Like you say, we're not perfect, but we have a passion for helping people with things that we have learned, and we want to share those things. We want to drag people along on that road to success. So that's what I love about you, Diane. And you are one of the most passionate people I've ever met, and I love to be in your presence. So let's start with what you do with your clients. Like, when you sit down, and what is your first step in your method?
Yeah, so the first step is I ask them what is their vision. And oftentimes I'm brought in initially because it's about space. And so if we'll use as an example, it's someone's bedroom, then I ask them, what's the vision for this space? So ultimately, if you could have it any way, how would you want to feel when you walked in here? What kind of emotions would you want to experience? Is it a restful place? Is it a place of passion? Is it a place of solitude and rejuvenation? So we talk about the vision of what their space, what they want for their space. So that's really the first step.
Okay. So do you find that people know and can answer that question? Like, I work with a lot of people who want to lose weight, for instance. I say, well, what is it that you want, and how do you envision your body? Like, how do you, and same kind of questions. How do you want to feel about your body? How do you want to feel in your body? Those kinds of things. And they look at me with this blank expression, like, what are you talking about? I want to lose 10 pounds. Like, what? Right? Like they don't actually have a vision. What do you do with that? Or do you experience that with your clients?
I do. So I try to use words or bring up words that might evoke things, because you're right. Oftentimes they don't know. All they know is they don't like it and they want it better and they want it fixed, right? And so sometimes we don't know what we want. We know what we don't want. It's easier to identify what we don't want than what it is that we do. And so we kind of start there. Well, what I don't want is I don't want all this crap all over the floor. What I don't want is I don't want to stumble over. I want to open my closet and have crap falling out. So we go that way. We kind of reverse engineer our way into what the vision is, because it is rare that somebody comes in and goes, or I come in and they say, this is my vision.
Right. No, exactly. And without a vision, the people will perish, right? It's like we don't know where we're going if we don't have that vision. So that's awesome.
And that's really, that's interesting. I think without a vision, we're doomed for repetition, to repeat the same thing, right? There has to be something that we can continue to go back to, right? And if it's 10 pounds, if it's quantifiable like that, then you can look at the scale and you go, I'm not there yet. But instead of, or I want to get into these size 4 pants again. And weight comes into my work as well, which is fascinating, because what I have found is that when people eliminate the excess stuff, their bodies change as well.
Okay, so can I tell you, I have a secret. That is really one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show today. Because, no, seriously, because I am a body love coach. I help people really like create the body that they want and love themselves along the way. And so, but because it really is about what's on the inside and like being that, it's the same thing. It really is. The whole thing about your environment is the same thing as your environment in your body, right? And there's so many parallels in our work, Diane. It's, from the talks that we've had before. That's why I wanted to have you on the show, because it's like it is a shedding, the shedding of the protection of stuff. And so that could be, body fat, it could be illness, it could be clutter, it could be all those things. And really what we want for people and for ourselves is to be free of that. Right. To be completely ourselves, free of the stuff, free of the fat suit, free of the things that are holding us and keeping us small on the inside, and not blossoming into that passionate and excited and jubilant person that we all are, really, on the inside. So I'm so excited to be talking to you about this, and that that you have an awareness of that, and you've seen it in your clients. It's super exciting to me.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It is. It's the what are we hiding from, right? So we bury ourselves in our homes with all our stuff, or we gain those extra pounds. It's indicative of something else, and that is where the beauty is. That somebody can go to you and say, "I want to lose 10 pounds," but really, what they're saying, and you know this because you're a magnificent coach and you're excellent at what you do, is that inside there's something more, and you allow them safely and supportively in an environment of no shame and judgment, but real human love, to find out that what's really about that is not the 10 pounds, and it's not about the organized closet, and it's not about the garage. There's that thing, and that's what's really. And that's why I know you love what you do, and I love what I do, because it's of service to humanity, and it's kick ass.
Yeah, totally is. Okay, so this vision, this must be a big part. How long does that usually take for people? Like, I can't imagine that just happens instantaneously.
It doesn't happen instantaneously, but the time that I work with people, typically I don't work with them longer than 4 hours at a time, because this work is like the work you do. You wouldn't have a workout session that's 2.5 hours. You have to know the limit and balance of a human being. And stuff holds so much personal memory, recollection. It's very complicated. It's not just let's clean the garage out. Everything in there has a story attached to it. So we work in 4-hour segments, and each event, vision, room, space is different regarding on how long it takes. It's also dependent on the person. Because, for example, in your work, someone could say, I want to lose 10 pounds, but the level of which they're able to dedicate their time and energy and change their eating habits, or whatever that is going to be different than the next person. So if I work with somebody and they're able to go, I've had it. I can get rid of that. I can get rid of that. I can get, then we move on at a different pace. Right. But the vision stage, that first one, it is kind of a short, because it stays with us. We always have to come back to it, because we all want to go like this, right? And then we go, oh, here's this, and I want to, and we're like, go back
pretty
to
shiny object over here. Let's go over here.
So that first part, the first step of the method is, I would say if you want a time frame on it, it's 30, 40 minutes, and some people we kind of just have, or they don't really know. And so I, as somebody that wants to support them, I let that play. You know, it's not like I ever push or demand or has to be in a certain way. But that's something, if there is a resistance to it, I go, okay, let's come in this other way a little bit. So let's go talk about this part of the room. And, you know, and eventually it always unfolds because inside of us is the answer.
Yeah.
We sometimes just don't know how to get to it. That's where other people, you know, are helpful. So.
Oh, I love that. That sounds really organic and really compassionate and really flowing. I love that approach. Okay, so once we have a vision for the space, then what is the next step?
So the next step is that if we're going to go back to this bedroom, we eliminate things that don't belong in that bedroom.
In the vision of the bedroom.
In the vision, right. So in the vision. So if we're talking about this space in particular, you would take things out like children's toys. Television set.
You had that as part of your vision.
Exactly.
So, right. Playroom, not.
So I have, and Peter Walsh, really, I'm going to go back to him because I really loved how he's very specific about that. And he has a very strong opinion. If you want a room that's passionate, then your children's toys don't belong in it. And I know people love to watch TV in bed. And I have to say, when I go to hotel rooms, when I travel, there are times where I've never even turned the TV on because I like to watch it as a movie and things like that, but I've never had a TV in my bedroom because there's something very, again,
because that's your vision. That's your vision for your bed.
Right. It's a place where it's passionate. It's about the people that are involved in there. And it should, to me, be a safe haven from the outside world. You know, it's a place to rejuvenate. So we go to the vision. So then we eliminate the things that don't line up with that vision. So if their vision is to have a passionate relationship with their partner in that room, then the cooking utensils go out, the kids' toys go out, the tools go out, the whatever, sometimes books. It becomes, the bedroom can be a storage place for people that are storing the wrong things. So the second process is that we eliminate the things that don't line up with that vision.
Great. So that seems like that would be pretty straightforward if you know what the vision is and you just keep coming back to that and going, okay, this is part of the vision. Right. So you're just eliminating stuff. Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. Then what happens?
So we do this thing. This is what I tell my clients. When you have something in your home, there's really only two questions. So this is discernment. There's only two questions you need to ask yourself. Does it bring me joy when I look at it, or I touch it, or I wear it? And the second question, is it useful? So in my experience, these two questions are the only thing that you need. Now, it's hard to do those because we start to answer those questions with an A, a B, a C. Well, maybe when I lose pounds, right? It'll bring me joy if I can fit into it. It's a great thing about the closet, right? This is very often, not only with women, but with men too, we have a vision about who we want to look like, who we want to be. We remember fondly, nostalgically, what that great dress felt like when we wore it at that event, but our bodies have changed. And so these two questions, does it bring me joy? Now, sometimes using that dress as a model and as an example. So I'll give you a story. So I have this great dress. I bought it. I wore it to this Christmas party with my now fiance. And it was, when I walked out into the living room, it's like his jaw hit the floor. And we didn't know each other that long. It was a Christmas party at his work. And I came out in this darling number. I mean, it's beautiful satin with like pleats and and he was so pleased with it. We wore it to a friend's wedding. Well, over a period of a few years, I went to put it on and I can't get the side zipper up. Now, I may have gained weight, love excess, whatever. And that's
love
true.
Chub.
Love chub. I love it. But also, like, as my body changes, my rib cage, like your body. So when I look at this dress, I look at it and I think, oh, I can't wait to get back into that, because what I'm attached to is the memory of how wonderful it was when I wore it. It's not the dress. It's the story I'm telling myself about that object. And the moment that I can let that go and hold and trust is a huge thing here. trust that all of that soulful joy and those expressions and the love that I felt around that time or that object or that book or the pictures or the whatever it is, to trust that that's in me and it's always going to be in me. I don't have to hold on to the thing anymore. And it's a really important thing to remember. I think in a world where we feel like we're not certain and we sometimes feel like we're not brave, we keep all that extra stuff around us to insulate us and protect us. And it can be weight and it can be stuff. But the truth is that what's inside of us, all of that is still there. All of it's there, that those great memories. And I have photographs that I look great in it. I don't need the dress. And I also don't need to shame myself into trying to fit back into it, to recreate something. You know, it's a beautiful and painful process, but it's unique. I believe that if you want to make room for the things you want in your life, you need to get rid of the things that don't serve you any longer.
Wow, that's
so discernment. That, yeah. So that third place that's a really big, long, juicy, sometimes heavy space in the method.
Makes me want to take a break right now. Yeah. All right, welcome back. We are with Diane Anthony, who is sharing all of her tips and tricks on how to make your home, your life flow and function better. So I hope you are taking notes. She's giving us her method, a method that people pay a lot of money to learn and to execute with her help. So we are on step number 3. Let's just review where we've come up to. So first we have a vision, and then of what we want the space to be. And then we have an elimination phase where we eliminate the things that don't belong there, right? Am I doing good so far?
Yes.
I'm working, right? And then we're in discerning. Exactly. We ask 2 questions. And can you review what those 2 questions are for everything that's left after we've done that elimination?
So the first question is, does it bring me joy when I look at it, when I touch it, when I put it on? And the second question, is it useful? So every item falls into one or either of those categories, or it can be both. But those are the only 2 questions that you need to ask yourself for any item that you have in your home. Wow. And it's a tough one. It seems simple, and it is, but it's also not.
Yeah, right.
As you can imagine, because our items hold, yeah.
You come up with to a lot of resistance with people at this particular step?
I do. I actually call this the negotiating phase. And it's the one where they want to negotiate with me about why they think they should keep it, even though it doesn't fall in those 2 categories.
They want to maybe even adjust their vision a little bit.
Yeah. And so my job as, you know, this loving, holding space holder for their vision is to bring them back to that gently and compassionately, like you probably have with your clients. And that, you know, if the goal or the vision is to lose 10 pounds, but now they're going to negotiate with you why this weekend they're going to have to fall off that train because of, you know, Bill's wedding, then you get to gently guide them back. And I think it really is beautiful because it allows people to feel safe and also to hear themselves speak out loud. So we often say stuff in our head. It's it makes
more sense when it's in there, doesn't it?
Right? And then when you hear it outside, you go, did I just say that? Is
that what I really think? Is that what I really believe?
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. I mean, you know, we've all had those aha moments where we go, wow, I just really put that together so successfully. But I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't been in communication or relationship with you, right? And so this is that dynamic that happens with my clients and I. And so this third stage or this third step of this method is really, this is the one where a lot of compassion and a lot of vulnerability and a lot of space is needed because our items hold so much history and story for us. And a lot of times we get confused that we are that thing or that thing defines us, just like their weight defines them. I mean, you've probably heard this many times where a client says, but what if I actually got to that weight? like then I would have to maybe open the door for invitation of a whole new world. Maybe I'm not really ready for that. I think I am, but that would be frightening. And so we keep that stuff to keep us safe, right?
Well, so that's what I love about your work is that you know that you're working on a deeper level. The client doesn't always know that.
Right.
They think that they're just talking about stuff where it's safe. Right. And then you've built trust by this point. Because if they've eliminated a bunch of stuff, they must be feeling better and lighter already.
They
right?
do. And I find so much that it's really about action. And you probably experienced this too. Once we go forward, I mean, that, the quintessential Nike ad campaign, just do it. Just begin. Give yourself a 10 minutes, set a timer and say, I'm going to tackle the kitchen junk drawer. And when that 10 minutes is up, you stop wherever you were. But what happens is you start emptying out that drawer and you're like, now I'm going to go to the cutlery drawer. And after that, you're in the refrigerator. And by, 2 hours, you come out and you go, look what I just did. I mean, it feels so good because it's action, right? Yeah. And we don't necessarily want to do that on our own. And that's where the coach or the guidance or the friend or whatever the support system comes in, which is so tremendous.
Yeah. Okay, so if someone makes it through this discernment, what happens next? What's the next step in your method?
So I just have to, because you brought that up, I have to say I have never lost a client.
Oh.
No one's ever, not made it.
Like jumped off a bridge or something at that stage.
Or said, I'm stopping right here. No, they're such brave souls. I'm so impressed with everybody I've just been given the honor to work with. So after we do the discernments, the step, we go into function. Now we have a space that only has what's in it, things that bring joy and pleasure and evoke positive memories and or are useful in this space. So now we go to function. And now we look at the items that we have in that space and we see how will they best function with what our needs are coming back to that vision, right? And so you may have had this before, but sometimes people put an exercise, a treadmill or a walking thingamajigger in their bedroom, right? Thinking they're gonna work out there, there's no space for it, and it becomes a clothes rack, right? So if the function for this room is to have a place of sanctuary and passion, then we look at what is left that remains, all of these wonderful things, and we find a way how to make that function in that space. So sometimes that's spatial arrangement, sometimes it is the dresser better suited over here, going back to the bedroom example, is the lighting right? Where's the function that goes into the space as we use it? So this is really, this is kind of the fun part. This is sort of almost like along the lines of decorating, sort of a feng shui idea, like how do we design, yeah, exactly.
Cool. And so, yeah, that would be fun, seeing how it's supposed to function, and of course, always referencing the vision.
Right.
Going back to making sure that the function is supporting that vision.
And the thing about function really is that sometimes people put things in a space, in a room, as an example, and it sort of lives where it lands, right? And after a while, we stop seeing it. And so now we're stepping over it or around it. And to have somebody come in with new eyes that can hear the vision and then says, what if we move this here? Or how is it when you come in and there's really, like, it doesn't function in that space, but it's where it landed, or the wall was the right size, or, maybe it means we downsize the dresser. So there's really about now it being this functioning space that holds items in it that bring you happiness and that is useful. And you're now really creating this vision of really like a sanctuary.
Yeah. So this is where maybe the aesthetics really come into play too, right? Where you make that all its function.
It's the juice.
But it's also like making it beautiful to you, right? Yeah, nice. Okay, that does sound like a lot more fun. Well, if I knew that was coming after all that discernment that was happening, I'd probably hang on too. That sounds delightful. Okay, so now we are functioning in a beautiful space that only has the things in it that we love or that we use. And what comes after that?
So the final step of this method is flow. And flow to me is the most important thing that we have to remember in our lives, in every activity that we do, and in our space as well. When you think about water flowing down a creek, down a river, going down towards the river, and if there's debris or there's objects in the way of that, then it stops the flow. And what happens when you stop flow, you stagnate, right? And the water gets all murky and starts to smell. And within your body, if you don't keep your heart and your blood vessels clean and you're not doing this positive way of taking care of your body, your blood doesn't flow the way it's supposed to. And that can actually be life-threatening, right? Mm-hmm. So flow is integral into this final phase of this method, which is that we have to find and revisit and hold that vision and see, because the thing about stuff is it's constantly coming in. That means it constantly has to be addressed, and that means it has to flow. It has to have a way in which it keeps moving. So this is the part where I do coaching calls, I do follow-ups, I do with my clients, or we create a game plan, or there's a way in which when the items start to encroach and come into that space again, how do I find a way to continue to have that flow occur? Because there is a fantasy that once somebody hires a professional organizer or has somebody come in or they read the steps on whatever, that they're going to walk into that room and it's going to be done and it's going to stay that way.
Yeah. Isn't that what happens?
It does happen if you close the door and never enter it again. Then you can look at it like a museum and you can open the door and you can go,
glass door on it.
Right, a glass door. Awesome.
Hey, did you ever have that growing up? My mom loved to have a clean living room, of which we were not allowed in as kids, right? And she didn't have plastic on the furniture. I knew some families that did that, but we weren't to go in the living room. And as a kid, it never made any sense to me. It's like, it's the living room. Aren't we supposed to live in the living room? And to know that's for guests, or, it was this place she didn't want anybody to touch because she had decorated it and designed it in such a way. And we were just, messy, and she didn't want us to be in there at all. So we had our family room where the family was allowed to go, but the family was not invited into the living room. Did you ever have that?
Yes, and it's such a great classic example because that resonates with so many people. I mean, I don't know that even if, and that may be generational for us, but that is definitely, and so it's interesting because the vision your mom had for that room is that it would be perfect and it would remain so. That when people came, it would be her vision, which is perfect. And that actually speaks to a really interesting thing, is what your mom needed. Like, what was important to her that her community or her friends or her other family, because clearly not those family members, right? But the other people, when they came in, what was it that she needed them to see her as? And that room was indicative and representational of something that she needed to have to be just a certain way, right?
Well, when I look back at it now also, as she needed to have a space, even if it wasn't just for other people, she needed to have something that was organized and beautiful. And when she looked at that, that gave her that feeling of, and she didn't have the time to be constantly cleaning it up to get it to that place or to find that flow that you're talking about right now. So how do you actually help people come up with their flow, like in advance, so we know what's going to, like, for instance, I know that if I buy something new to wear, if I don't wear it right away, if I just put it away, I forget about it. I might be strange that way, but I literally forget. And then I'll be going through my closet, go, what is this? Where did this come from? It's like, oh yeah, shoots. I didn't even, right? So I have to have, literally my flow is I have to leave it out to wear it so that I remember that I have it, and then sort of cycle it into my clothes and maybe get rid of something else or whatever. It's like this routine that I have with something new, where otherwise I really literally forget about it. So do you come up with those kinds of strategies in advance?
Not necessarily. It sort of happens organically with some people, and sometimes it's around the vision. When I talk about, well, so what is your lifestyle like, you know, and kind of coming back to having a vision. If you have a space that's small, there are definitely homes that we have. I mean, we have one, well, probably more than one room that is multifunctional. So it can't just be this glorious space where no one can enter, and you know, like it may have to have.
Who can do that anymore? No.
You know, it has like the office desk in the corner. It's the place where the mail goes. Or so it's when I work with my clients and we talk about the vision, that does come up because there has to be a sense of realism around the way their life really works. And when they know those things, like for example, the example you just gave about the clothing, I always think it's funny because I have a similar thing that if I don't wear it, it's like Christmas in my closet. I open up, I go, oh, I forgot I had that. Or when I think about that, I think, why did I buy it if I didn't even put it on? And now it's like this mystery item in my closet. You know, there's.
Well, that's why I always leave the tag on it.
So do I.
Because
and sometimes I return it.
Go back. Yeah.
Because, and I think that's a really interesting point, Mel, because this is where there's a whole other conversation around the purposeful purchasing. Okay, so what's the intention? Why am I, and in your industry, why did I eat that second scoop? Why did I take that second helping? Like, what was in it for me? It wasn't about need and necessity. It was something else. So purchasing something because of the mood that you were in, or it looks
on sale,
or it's on sale, or you feel like you want to adorn yourself with something because you're feeling like that's what but if that didn't even go on your body within days, there's a different question there. And I try to really encourage my clients that have things around purchasing to really take a good look at what's, you know, what we're feeding. I mean, we have even a term for it, right? Retail therapy. Yeah. And the other thing that my clients run into that's very painful is that when they decide to get rid of certain things, right? And I'm really big on donating because there are so many people that are have less than we have, that could utilize the things we have. I mean, we're so excessive. I believe in consumerism in America. That's my personal opinion, and I experienced that in my industry. You are not going to get your money back from what you bought. So you better buy it and love it, or find a way to be okay that somebody else is going to now have it and be able to use it. Because I have clients that will give me things and will take things to consignment for them. And when the consignment shop tells me they'll get this much minus their percentage, and I tell the client, they think, but I bought it for this much money, and I think, yeah, so next time, love it.
You buy a new car, you drive it off the lot, you just knocked off thousands and thousands of dollars in value. No, I get it. So I have a saying.
Yes.
It goes like this. Everything is a metaphor for everything.
That's what you're saying. I love that saying.
And so I want to, we don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to touch on this idea that our clutter on the outside is a reflection of clutter on the inside. And although it might not always be something that you lead with, I know you do touch this with your clients. And I'm curious as to how that is manifested in creative results for your clients when they actually get that and can transform that. What does that look like?
It looks like the stories that people are telling themselves inside of their head, and then what their reality is mirroring back to them. So this idea that there's internal clutter and there's external clutter, and that the two are not very separate from one another. And it's a big thing to look at. It's a hard thing to look at for all of us. I include myself in that. Because when I look at my environment, I have to take inventory of what's going on inside of me, that my external environment is now showing up in this particular way. This happens in relationships. It happens with our objects. It happens with our bodies. It happens with everything we do. What?
With everything.
With everything, because it's everything. because there's nothing that's separate, right? And so when I'm able to have that kind of a conversation, or my clients are able to grasp and touch and see for themselves, because this isn't about, my work isn't about educating people, it's about inviting them to look a little bit and to just be curious. I think that's really more of it, because when we become curious about ourselves and our environments and the things that aren't working and the way our bodies feel and the messages we're getting internally, then we can open up to this possibility of something that's better for us.
Yeah.
And so it's really a beautiful and tender journey that we go on. And there, you know, it's funny because in my work with stuff, objects, people say, well, how could that be when, you know, for example, we'll be in someone's garage and I'll say, what's in this box? Oh, this is Aunt Betty's china set that she gave me, and it's so wonderful. Oh, do you love it? Yeah, I do. I love it. I couldn't possibly get rid of it. It's just, it meant so much to her. And I said, okay, so why is it in a box, stinky, rotty box in the corner of your garage if it is so reverent to you? If it means so much to you, then it needs and deserves a place of honor in your home. And the same is true for what's inside of us. What's valuable for us should not be stuffed away in a dark corner, neglected. It needs to be shining. It needs to be out. It needs to be represented. It needs to be available to be really fully living and experiencing whatever that is. And so that's where that idea of what's inside and what's outside are so closely in touch with one another.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I actually think you just dropped the mic right there. Bam! And I think that if we could truly get that message, Diane, and I know that you embody that message, I really appreciate it so much. You never come in saying you've got it all figured out, but you do hold that space where people can discover that for themselves in a really gentle and loving way. That approach is so needed for us, especially when we're dealing with emotional issues like our stuff.
Yeah.
That you create that for people. I appreciate it so much, and I know your clients do as well. Could you please share with us how people can reach you and find out more about what it is that you do?
So my website is the same as my business name, which is Piece of Space. And when I came up with that, it was something that came to me, and I thought that's really what I wanted at that time in my life, was I wanted a space that had peace in it. So pieceofspace.com is my website. And I'm going to throw out the honest is it a caveat here, perhaps? My dirty little secret. My website does not hold as much interest to me as working with my clients does.
I love that. That's awesome.
When you look at it, there will be some blogs that are dated from a couple of years ago, because that is not where my heart lives. My heart lives in relationship with other people. And so I realized there's a landing place for people to find me. That's my website name, pieceofspace.com. And I want to tell you also that I'm a recovering perfectionist. And so it's really something for me to not have it perfect, but have it be good enough, right? And you touched on that in the beginning. And this is where to be gentle with ourselves. So my website is pieceofspace.com. And on there is my contact information, my phone number, as well as my email address, which is pieceofspace@gmail.com. And if there's any way that I could be of service, even if it's in a phone conversation, or there's some way that I could connect you with somebody maybe in your area, or we could do virtual coaching, I'm happy to do so, because it's an absolute honor and a gift to be able to work with such amazing people.
Great. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so thank you so much, Diane Anthony of Piece of Space. And I hope that you all enjoyed our time together. Make sure to reach out to her with any questions. And of course, I'm always available to talk to you as well. You can reach me at mastermel.com, where you can leave your comments. You can find this video eventually, and where we can start a dialogue about what it is that's important to you, because that's what's important to us. Thank you so much. Take care, and we'll see you next time at Kick Up Your Life with Master Mel.
Thanks for listening to Kick Up Your Life with Master Mel. Each week, learn how to optimize your business and your life with Master Melodee Meyer as she speaks with thought leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, and high achievers to discover their secrets of success. Kick Up Your Life with Master Mel every week right here on Radio Star Worldwide.